Hey everybody, it's Laurie with you, and I've got a very special Astro weather update. The weekend of September 21st and 22nd of 2024 is going to be a little wild. You might find yourself with some sleepless nights on September 21st because we've got a grand trine happening between the Sun in Virgo with Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus, and it's being activated by the moon. If you've been doing the work, if you've been deconstructing, if you've been diving in and holding yourself accountable, not blaming, but holding yourself accountable and understanding where you needed to deconstruct, decolonize, etc., and then build anew, this is where you're going to get hit with inspiration to reconstruct yourself authentically. Now, you don't have to do anything super specific. This is going to be feelings that wash over you, inspiration. You may be super energized because the sun is involved in this. The sun in Virgo will be energizing. It's the dynamo in this grand trine. And everybody always talks about the harder aspects, but let me tell you, a grand trine, it's free-flowing energy. It is unrestricted, and you are going to be filled. Now, hopefully, if you've done your work, you're just going to run with this inspiration. So you want to make sure you have your journals, your collage. If you're going to do a vision board, this is the time. Write down all the crazy ideas. They may not be as crazy as you think. Celebrate all of your progress. Be inspired by your own healing and growth. And you are going to make some magic with this. This is not a time to sit and ground in. This is a time assess where you're at and understand that you need to build yourself on an inspired foundation. So it's pretty exciting. On the world stage, however, we're not going to hit those high notes of inspiration. We're looking at massive disruption. Now, this could happen in the evening. Again, this is happening at 9:47 through about midnight of September 21st into the 22nd. Right ahead of the equinox, and we're looking at weather. We could see tornadoes, we could see hailstorms, we could see typhoons, tropical storms, or hurricanes forming. And this is global. Okay, it's global, but the directions I'm looking at, I think we could see in the Gulf of Mexico, out in the South Pacific, into those Pacific islands. And then if we move into Central Asia, we could see some stuff going on. South America may have some rumbling, including maybe volcanic action, but we could see a sizable earthquake. That my guess would be maybe Chile for that, maybe Argentina. We could see some stuff happening in Antarctica. I don't know if it's going to make the news. And then we're going to also be looking at some pretty big waves, big water. So I'm thinking, again, weather. And this could be some big moisture coming up into maybe the Northeast might see some. So that might be like Northern Europe, the UK, Ireland, into maybe even the northeast of the United States. And know we have 76 countries that's tuning in. So regardless of where you live, keep your eye on the weather over the weekend. As my grandfather used to say, the equinox is always kind of a crapshoot when it comes to weather. You could flip a coin and maybe you'll be right when it comes to it because it's very unstable. The equinox is when the sun moves from Virgo into Libra, and that will happen on the 22nd. That is when we have equal days and nights. It's our fall equinox in the north, and it's the spring equinox in the southern hemisphere. I think we may also see some conflict sped up. We're going to see some really big headlines. Okay. So there's some big stuff heading up, but on a personal level, I want you to run with that inspiration. This is going to impact some world leaders. And I talked about some of that in the patron only video podcast where I went over Trump, Harris, Biden, and Taylor Swift's charts. And I also took a look at P. Diddy. Not my favorite, but he's certainly not going to be having a good time anytime soon. You can check that out in the patron only podcast on Patreon /the Awake Space. You can check the show notes for more. I'm giving you this as a heads up because honestly, I think we're going to see some big news. We could see some big news happening in Great Britain. This could have to do with King Charles. or the royal family itself, but it is most likely a leader, but it could be the government itself. We could see issues with the government in France. Germany could be having some more issues. Turkey may see some instability. NATO may be having difficulties as we move at the beginning of this equinox time. It's a wild and woolly world. Should you be afraid? Should you be worried? Should you? No, you don't need to be worried. Just giving you a heads up on what I think we're going to see. Don't be surprised if you get news about leaders of countries, CEOs. Elon Musk may not have a very good week next week. So those are all things you can look forward to. Remember, if you're feeling super energized Saturday night, you're not alone. There's going to be a lot of people who are feeling brimming full with energy. Get it out by being creative. Do something crafty. Write out those big ideas. Make a vision board. Write a plan. Celebrate yourself and all of your healing. Take advantage of this energy because you can really get some forward momentum with it. Even if you can't take action in the moment, there's definitely some foundational energy to put forward into plans for 2025 with us. So that's what I've got for the Astro weather update. What's coming up on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast on Monday? Well, we're going to be talking about that moon that will be in our orbit from the 29th of September until November 25th. I don't know if you've heard about that, but we're going to be talking about that on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. And we're going to cover what I expect to see in the headlines and how you personally can run with the wild and woolly energy of 2024. I want to thank patrons for sponsoring the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. You can find the patron-only podcast in the show notes. I'm Laurie Rivers. Thank you for listening.